Hello everybody, this is Shocking 1000 reporting for duty, welcoming you back to more Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. In the last episode, we showed you an optional battle against Chobin with his upgraded Robo Groudon, did an interview against Arca for an item that we shouldn't have been given, and received a Master Ball from Professor Crane. This time, we are going to be making our breach to Citadark Isle to end things once and for all for Team Scyther. And all I can honestly say to this right now, actually I was meant to mention this in the last episode but I completely forgot. I actually obviously did some training in Mount Battle off camera, and I managed to beat Area 5 and obtain the TM for Rock Tomb. So, yeah, you do get a lot of decent TMs from beating the areas in Mount Battle. I will show you the Battle 100 later on. But what comes down right now is, well, you kind of get the whole gist. Our main priority is to battle Scyther. And that is what we intend to do. So without any further ado, we'll ride the Robo Kyogre. There's Mr. Ferric, aka Master Greevil. And as soon as we walk on the island, we get interrupted by a sailor. Hey you, that thing you're riding on is kinda cool. I have this feeling I met you in the port somewhere, but I don't give a hoot about that. I do have a problem with when someone shows up here without passage on a boat. Well, sucks to be you. Right, so we've got Absent here, using a Quadron and a Pelipper. Well, starting off with Houndoom is actually not going to be a good combination here. But I think you will know exactly what I want to do. Use Thunderbolt on that Quadron because Quadron is a part Dark type which can be Gardevoir. So I want to take priority in knocking him out immediately. And then switching Houndoom out for Jolteon. There we go. Yeah, Quadron is not hard to knock out, in all honesty. And his next Pokemon's Mantine. Okay, Pelipper sitting off a Rain Dance. Oh, actually, I just realized something else. I actually forgot to mention this as well. There are 4 Shadow Pokemon that I have in the PC. Of Pokemon that are actually holding on to items. I've been meaning to take them off them, but I wanted to show you what items they were holding on to first before I did that. Otherwise you wouldn't actually know. So after all the random battles that we probably might be getting, the nearest PC that we will actually get onto the Dark Isle, we will actually show you what those are. And by the way, this guy's got a Shadow Pokemon of Golduck. Golduck is kind of an interesting Pokemon. He's kind of balanced in base stats. But he's kind of just an average Pokemon, really. I think he does come with a move that is normally known to be a H. Yeah, he normally comes with the move Waterfall. So if you did... Oh. Celios wanted to learn Rest. I would teach you that, but I don't actually want to. Oh, he also wanted to learn Snore. Okay. But yeah, we got another Pokemon here of Sableye, which is by far what everybody thinks is to be a rubbish Pokemon, but I disagree. Sableye is an awesome Pokemon in Gen 3. He can learn a lot of variety of moves to help cover certain types. He has no weaknesses. He does lack in defenses or probably offense slightly, and he is kind of slow. But if you're planning to use this Pokemon on your team, I highly recommend Keen Eye for the ability over Stall. Because Keen Eye prevents all... Keen Eye prevents all accuracy lowering moves. Well, actually no, sir. Keen Eye prevents his accuracy from being lowered. There we go. Stop right there. But Stall, that prevents the Pokemon from using its held item for the entire battle. You do not want the ability Stall. I actually did create a list of the top 10 most useful and useless abilities in all of Pokemon. But I don't know if I have it saved on my PC. In the meantime, I'm just going to use another Shockwave on Sableye and use a Thunder Wave on Sableye as well. While I go and look for the... Oh, here we go, yeah, found it. Well, that didn't take long. Well, Sableye's in catching range. Right, okay then, so here we go. Now, many of you might actually disagree with me with certain stuff here, but I'm going to go along with it anyway. I'm going to use God of War's turn to catch that Sableye, and then Joe's turn to use Bite on that Golduck. But yeah, I'm going to go over the top 10 worst abilities first. Now, the majority of these are often, like, tied. So, don't judge me for saying this. Number 10, weather abilities like Sandstream, Drizzle, Sunny Day, and Snow Warning plus Cloud 9. The reason why I think this is like the top in number 10 for the worst is the fact that the majority of the time Pokemon can learn moves like Sandstorm, Sunny Day, oh, hang on. Yeah. Right, I put down Sunny Day there, and it should really be Drought. But yeah, they can learn Sunny Day, Rain Dance, Sandstorm, Hail, and activate the weather ability by default. But the abilities, they set up the ability by default when you bring the Pokemon into battle. So, yeah, you can have a use for that ability if you know a right method of using it. So, it is basically the 10th worst Pokemon ability in my personal opinion, which doesn't necessarily mean it's a terrible ability. It is really good. At number 9, we have Dry Skin, which prevents water-type moves from being used on all Pokemon who have that ability. But the only problem is, every single Pokemon that has Dry Skin for the ability is weak to fire types. And what Dry Skin does is, it boosts damage ratio of fire type moves being used on the Pokemon. And I obviously mentioned Paras and Parasect as a prime example to this, because these are times 4 weakness to fire by default, but with Dry Skin it becomes a times 5. And number 8, Runaway, is useful in wild Pokemon battles, but it is terrible in trainer battles, because it does absolutely nothing. By the way, we actually beat this guy. And number 7, we've got the abilities of Torrent, Blaze, Overgrow, and Swarm. These abilities are kind of useful in their own way if you're using a Pokemon that is guaranteed to survive at least one powerful attack. But it's just the only problem is, the majority of the time, your Pokemon might get one-shotted or taken to 1 HP and then hit with a priority move to not allow you to use your ability regardless. Because what that ability does is it boosts the power of water types if it's Torrent, fire types if it's Blaze, grass types if it's Overgrow, and Swarm being Bug if the Bug, Grass, Fire, or Water type Pokemon's HP has been cut down to 1/3 of its max. So like say for instance you're using the Pokemon, it has 90 HP, but the ability of Overgrow, Blaze, Torrent, and Swarm does not get activated until that 90 becomes 30. So, oh, actually, I should have gone to the PC while I was in there, by the way. But yeah, I don't find a use for that ability. Now, I'm going to start talking about ability for a sec. Let's actually go over the items real quick. We have Venomoth holding onto the Silver Powder, which boosts the power of Bug moves. Beedrill holding onto the Poison Bar, which boosts the power of Poison moves. Magneton, which is holding onto the Metal Coat, which boosts the power of Steel moves, and also allows you to evolve an Onix into a Steelix or a Scyther into a Scizor if you're trading the Pokemon holding that item. And finally, Tangela holding onto the Miracle Seed, which boosts the power of Grass moves. With the fact that neither of my Pokemon benefit with those held items, I'm going to keep those held items on those Pokemon. Okay? Now, back to talking about the abilities. At number 6, we've got Slarking's ability, Truant, which allows the Pokemon to attack every other turn. At all by means necessary, it's not necessarily that bad. Because you can just teach him like Giga Impact or Hyper Beam and he'll just counter-attack the Truant because he has to recharge next turn anyway. But the only problem is using a Pokemon with that ability against a powerful Pokemon. Huh? How do you manage to get on this island? You wrote that here? That's awesome. Even Mr. Fairy, the world's richest man, doesn't have one of those. Oh, aye. Right. I think I'm going to say no on that one. Oh, okay. So if we said yes to this guy, he would actually give you Battle CD 31. Alright. So, yeah. Truant is not really a good ability, honestly. Another ability that's not really good. Wimp Out. Oh, there was a PC right here the whole time. Wimp Out is a signature ability of Wimpod in Gen 7. It's basically an ability that makes the Pokemon cowardly run away to live to fight another day, but it is terrible when you're dealing with him in the wild, because if you're wanting to catch him, he'll more likely run away because he's had less than half health and you'll miss your chance on getting him. At number 4, we have Stakeout, which doubles the damage dealt to the target's replacement if the target switches out, which is one of the main abilities of Gumshoes. The only problem with this ability is that, like I just said what it does, how are you to know if your Pokemon are going to switch out their Pokemon? How? Because very rarely people do switch their Pokemon out. Very, very rarely, which means it makes the ability pointless. At number 3, we have a tie between Leaf Guard and Chlorophyll, which are the signature abilities of all Grass-type Pokemon, which is pointless because Grass types are weak to Fire types. Plus, having an ability that has a boost only in sunny weather, which, by the way, boosts the power of Fire-type moves by 50%, Yeah, I think you can clearly tell why I don't like those abilities. Because all Leaf Guard does is, it protects the Pokemon from having a status condition in the sunlight. And Chlorophyll doubles the Pokemon's speed. Yes, it can be useful in its own way, but in my personal opinion, I don't think it is useful at all. At number 2, we have Send Mode, which is the signature ability of Darmanitan, being a hidden ability. It basically changes Darmanitan's type from a plain fire to a fire psychic type if the Pokemon has got half health remaining in his HP bar. Which means a Pokemon that's only weak to water, rock and ground, having half health remaining with Send Headbutt for the ability, will change his weaknesses from just water, rock and ground to water, rock, ground, dark and ghost. And finally, number 1 worst ability ever is a tie between Normalize and Klutz. Normalize turns every single type move into a normal type move, which is the signature ability of Delcatty. Now, easily said than done. Why is this a terrible ability? Because like I just said, it turns every single type move into a normal type move of the user. What if you're dealing with a ghost type Pokemon? You will not be able to hurt them. And Klutz prevents held items from being used. I think there's Stole as well. Hang on, let's have a look at Stole. Oh, Stall, the Pokemon moves after all other Pokemon do. Alright, never mind. Okay, so yeah. Those are the worst abilities. Right, I'm just going to ignore all dialogue here. Now I'm going to go over to the top 10 best abilities, my personal opinion. At number 10, we have Adaptability, which boosts the power of the same type moves as the Pokemon who's using them. Like, say, for instance, Dodrio, normal flying type. If he had adaptability for the ability, it'll boost the power of all normal and flying type moves he has in his moveset. And speaking of Dodrio, he's a shadow Pokemon. Dodrio is a very, very fast Pokemon. If you know a good use for him in your team, I would highly recommend him. But in all honesty, I don't want to catch this Pokemon. Well, I don't recommend using this. See, like that, right there. Just before I was about to say it. Do not use Dodrio in your team in this game, because like with Sugar Conroy, when he had his Dodrio nicknamed Trifecta, he kept getting knocked out every single battle. So Dodrio is not, in all honesty, a good Pokemon to use. Wait. Oh, something's got to synchronize! Alright, we'll catch the Dodrio. And we'll finish off that Sartu. But yeah, that's what adaptability does. At number 9, we have Unaware. Now, Unaware ignores all stat changes that a Pokemon has done and just attacks them anyway. So like say, if you're dealing with a Pokemon that's raised his physical and special defense by 6 stages, your Unaware will just completely ignore that and act like you're hitting the Pokemon with a critical hit every single hit, even though you're not. At number 8, we got Rockhead, which prevents recoil moves from hurting your Pokemon. Number 7, we got Sniper, which increases the ratio of critical hits. Number 6, we have a tie between Turbo Blaze, Terravolt, and Mold Breaker, which allows moves to be used regardless of abilities. And by the way, we got Shadow Eradicate over here. So yeah. So like say for instance, if you're dealing with a Fey Braver that's got Levitate for the ability, if a Pokemon has Mold Breaker, that Mold Breaker will get rid of the Levitate ability and will allow you to hit the Fade Waver with a ground type move like you couldn't do originally. And number 5, we got Tough Claws, which boosts the power of direct attacks. Number 4, abilities that turn normal type moves into their type. So like Refrigerate, Pixelate, Aerialate, etc. All normal type moves become flying types with its Aerialate, fairy types with it becomes Pixelate, and ice types if it becomes Refrigerate. That is actually a really good ability. I could explain the reason why, but we'll be here all day if I did. And number 3, we got Protein, which is the signature ability of Greninja before he was given his hidden ability to Spinder and Kecleon. What those abilities do are that it turns the Pokemon's type into whatever type move they are using before the move is even used. Like say for instance, Greninja being a Water Dark type. You use a Dark move, he becomes a Dark type. You use a Psychic move, he becomes a Psychic type. You can mess around with your opponent's mind 24/7 all day with that one ability. Because you'd be like, okay, I'm going to use a Poison type move on you because you're a Grass type. And then you decide, no, I'm going to use a Steel move. And then you become immune to that move. It is that good. At number 2, we have White Smoke and Clear Body, which prevents your stats from being lowered. And at number 1, we have to select Wonder Guard. Wonder Guard is a signature ability of Ninja, which, like I already said, only allows super effective attacks from hitting the Pokemon. And honorary mentions of abilities, we have Rivalry, which becomes competitive and deals more damage to Pokemon of the same gender, but half if it's the opposite. Simple, which allows you to double your stats every time, but the only problem is it can work 50-50. Contrary, which acts like, okay, your stats are being lowered by Crunch. Nope, instead they're being raised instead. It's basically a mirror image. Okay? We have Water Absorb, Volt Absorb, Vital Spirit, well, basically, you know the rest. But I'm not going to go over every single one of them. But there is one ability that I would like to have an honorary mention. Because it was actually discontinued. It was originally going to be in Gen 3, but it was never ever released. And that is called Cacophony. And for those who are probably wondering what Cacophony is, it's spelled C-A-C-O-P-H-O-N-Y. And that ability was dedicated to have the Pokemon avoid sound-based moves. But they discontinued it because sound-based moves are kind of like having an echo happen inside a cave. You cannot avoid sound no matter where you are. So that's why the ability was discontinued. Okay? So you might judge me about my favourite abilities and my least favourite abilities, but that's your personal opinion, not mine. By the way, we called Eradicate, and by the way, we've actually reached an end to this episode, guys. So after beating this Whiscash, we're going to call it an end to this episode. Next time on Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, we are going to be giving chase to Master Greevil and hopefully beat Cypher once and for all. See you guys in the next episodes.